Hello, Honkers fans. Welcome into Meet the Honkers episode 12. I am Justin Velazquez, and I'm very happy to welcome Jace Root onto the program. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just starting playoffs tomorrow, and seeing how far we can get. So,
see you rocking the Santa Clara hat where you're committed to. I know you're from Robinson, Illinois. How did you get into baseball, though, Jace?
My dad pretty much put me into it. I played a lot of sports when I was a kid. I tried pretty much everything, and baseball is kind of the one that stuck as I moved around. So I ended up pursuing it completely when I was like in seventh grade or something like that.
Playing all those sports, what stood out to you about baseball?
I mean, I'm left-handed, so I didn't really have very many options in an area to play. So, obviously I would just be the pitcher. So I like the individuality of it, and then also the team aspect of it too. So, it's a very mental game as well, which I think I like the challenge of that.
You mentioned your dad. How important is that relationship to you with your father?
It's really important. I'm the only one that's actually playing college sports. So me and him are really close, and he played sports in college. So me and him, he kind of taught me before I went to high school. So we're really close when it comes to that.
Mentioned before, you're from Robinson, Illinois, but you moved a couple times, Illinois to Louisiana, and then eventually California, where you're at now with San Joaquin Delta. How difficult was that for you bouncing around at a younger age?
It wasn't that difficult. Yeah, it was kind of hard to make friends because I was moving around a lot, but I think it just made me better with people and able to talk to other people, especially when it came to like a team sport like baseball. It just allowed me to fit in pretty quickly. And also I got to see like different levels of talent. So obviously in Illinois, where I was from, was a small town, so there wasn't that much talent. Then going to Baton Rouge, I noticed how much more talented people were at a younger age. So
how do you think how do you think that benefited you, seeing so much talent in different areas?
I think it pushed me a little bit more. So I was always a really small kid. I didn't actually hit my growth spurt until I was a junior in high school. So it made me work a little bit harder than other people just because I had to make up for it because of my size. So I didn't really have a choice but to work harder.
Mentioned high school. I know you threw a no-hitter in high school. Tell me about that game. Like, how special was that for you?
It was pretty special. Actually, I didn't even realize I was doing it until the last inning. You know how there's like a superstition where you're not supposed to tell the pitcher what he's doing, even if he doesn't realize it. But my catcher came out in like the sixth inning and told me what I was doing. So I actually didn't realize until the last inning. And then when it happened, it was super special just because it was more of a team thing. Because we only had at that game, because my high school wasn't too good, we only had 9 players, and we had like a PO playing right field. So the fact that, and every single person got a ball too. So it was pretty special as a team.
Yeah, that's crazy because I'm a Mets fan. So they just threw the combined no-hitter against the Phillies last week, right? And I'm watching the press conference, and the only person it seems like that knew they were throwing a no-hitter was James McCann, the catcher, and Edwin Diaz, who was watching the first 8 innings of the game from the bullpen. So, like, how was that last inning when, how does the pressure kind of rise, if it does, the last inning when you know what is at stake?
I don't think the pressure really rises. I think it just gets you a little bit more amped up and excited for that last inning. You can think of it 2 different ways, where it's like, oh, you don't want to mess it up, or you have an opportunity to do something really special. So I think it just got me a little bit more excited. And I ended up throwing actually harder my last inning out of all of my innings just because of that fact.
Throughout high school, what area of your game do you think you improved the most at?
Definitely the mental side. So I was a pretty mental roller coaster in high school where pressure got to me pretty easily. And then I came here to Delta, and the head coach, Reed Peters, does a really good job of focusing on not only the physical aspect of the game, but the mental part too, which is really important, especially when it comes to being out of the pen and just clutch situations like that.
What have you been doing to kind of, face that challenge of not being a mental roller coaster and keep it even keel, regardless if you have a good outing or a bad one?
So our head coach actually gives us a process to follow. He calls it our green light routine, which is basically it's a routine you do every single time you're about to throw. So it gets you feeling confident and feeling good to where you don't really let the pressure get to you. And then if you do have a bad outing, I have like a 5-minute rule where I'm allowed to be upset about it for 5 minutes and then I forget about it after that.
Really? So 5 minutes, you're really upset doing, thinking about what happened. But after that, it's all right, you're focused on the next outing or the next bullpen or next moment of the game, rooting on your team.
Yeah, because you don't really want to be like a selfish player who just brings the team down by having a bad attitude or whatever. So, I mean, I have 5 minutes to cool off, and then I cheer on the next guy that took my place. So,
and so the mental aspect. So I was going to ask, what do you think you learned the most about yourself as a person throughout high school? Would you say your mentality is kind of what you grew the most at as well?
yeah, I would say just my confidence wise, I was always kind of looking over my shoulder at my dad, whether I was doing right or wrong. But once I went to college, um, kind of being away from my parents and stuff like that, it kind of made me realize I was playing the game for me and not for somebody else and just for my enjoyment. So became a little bit more confident from high school to college. So
When exactly did that flip switch?
it flipped probably my first season here at Delta. I was always really tough on myself just because my dad was always really tough on me. So I was always scared to what his reaction would be if I had like a bad outing or something like that. But being so far away, we both started to just appreciate talking to each other. So he would never really insult me about my outing, but he would kind of, try to make me feel a little bit better and then just inspire me to be better the next time.
Yeah, switch flip, of course. I think I said flip switch flip, obviously. But you commit to San Joaquin Delta. You guys are having a great year, 30-9 in the regular season. Playoffs start tomorrow. You in particular had 2.70 ERA coming out of the bullpen. What has allowed you to have such a good season?
Um, Honestly, just the mental part, like I said, that's a really important part, especially coming out of the pen. And it's not just me that's allowing me to do that. It's my entire team. I mean, I've had great plays behind me, great coaching, and it's allowed me for my success. I mean, and of all the other pitchers that come in after me also do their job. As a staff, I think we're doing a really good job this year.
What kind of pitcher are you? Are you kind of are you overpowering guys or are you more of a finesse guy?
I'm definitely a finesse guy. I don't throw 94. I'm not someone who can just go blow fastballs by him. I have to kind of, play the batter, read their swing, what they do on certain pitches, and especially hit my spots because I mean I'll pay for it if I miss it. So I'm not that too overpowering of an arm.
What's your repertoire?
I throw, other than my fastball, a changeup, a slider, and then not eventually, every now and then a curveball. So if the at bat's pretty long and you've seen pretty much everything, I'll throw a curveball in there.
What would you say is your best pitch?
My changeup is definitely my best pitch. I have the most control over it, and it pairs really well off of my fastball just because it's from the same arm slot and it has the same kind of tunnel outside of my fastball. So it's only like 7 miles an hour slower or something like that, but it still plays really well.
Can you take me behind like how you've kind of developed your pitches, right? Because you start obviously with your fastball, commanding your fastball, and then you go from there to your secondary offerings, right? So can you take me behind how you've developed, your changeup or your slider?
Honestly, it was just throwing it over and over and over until you get it correct. Like I still have pitches that I'm working on that I have, but I want them to be better, or I don't like the feel of them. So every day I go out to practice and I play catch, I work on them so that they're where I want them to be. But my changeup actually took me a whole summer to develop just because I changed my grip and the way I would throw it. So I would just every day play catch with it over and over and over until I got it right. It's just kind of trial and error until you figure out the feel of the pitch.
Why did you change your grip and the way you threw it? Is that to get more movement or maybe less velocity on it? Why did you change that?
So before, my changeup was absolutely terrible. So it was basically just a slower fastball. And I mean, one of my close friends called it a BP fastball, where you would just throw it down the middle and they would eventually hit it as far as they wanted to. And that wasn't really working out. So I needed more movement and stuff like that in order for it to be effective, because every time I threw it, it was just kind of like grooved down the middle, and it wasn't very effective at all.
Back to San Joaquin, like I mentioned before, 30-9 in the regular season, scoring 1 billion runs. I remember early in the year, I just saw 17 runs, 18 runs, 20 runs. Like, it was crazy how many runs you guys were scoring, and obviously pitching really well. You're a big part of that. How special of a regular season is it for you?
Well, it's actually very special just because this is our first season in 3 years because of COVID. So we're all very excited just to be able to play the game again, like officially, and have the games matter. Like, I think last year all we did was scrimmage 4 days a week, and they didn't really matter. So it was kind of hard to have that motivation of wanting to get better and go out every single day just because the games didn't really matter. So this year I'm playing with the same guys I've known for 2+ years, and our bonds that we have are amazing. I couldn't ask for a better team.
Yeah, and then you've got so many guys on Delta coming to Rochester this summer. Herbs, an assistant coach over there, is the head coach. Meddings, Rahino, Nathan Hanson. How cool is it to play with these guys in the spring and then eventually in summer ball as well?
It's amazing. I mean, you're really close with these guys, and the fact that you can just have different experiences with them, travel to different states, and, get closer and closer with them is amazing. I mean, it's kind of hard since they're position players, Reg and Meddings, but we're still pretty close on the field. But it just gives me an opportunity to, get closer and hang out with them outside of the baseball field. So
Herbs, obviously Andrew Herbistondo. What is he like as a coach?
He is a very good coach when it comes to pretty much everything. He knows when to get on us, and he knows when to talk to us in order to help us. Like, he knows when we need a kick in the butt, and he's a really good infield coach and works with Meddings really well. I mean, our infield's so good just because of him. So as a head coach, I think he's going to be amazing, just knowing he knows the game really well and knows what to do in certain situations. So
what are Meddings and Rahino like as teammates?
They're very good teammates. We kind of mess with each other. They're old. They're a couple of years older than me, so I was kind of the freshman scrub last year walking in, so they kind of gave me some crap about it. But now we're all pretty close when it comes to teammates. We still mess with each other and stuff like that, but we're all very supportive of each other.
I know Nathan Hanson, like you, is a pitcher. So what's that bond like?
I met Nate this year, actually, just because he came from San Diego State, and immediately he was a very likable person. We hang out and talk about just random stuff, especially in the bullpen, because pitchers have a lot of downtime. So we're definitely able to just kind of form a little bit more of a bond, and the fact that he's able to come is amazing.
So you're wearing the Santa Clara hat. You're committed to Santa Clara University. You're start going there in the fall. What about Santa Clara stood out to you?
So I saw the campus once before I decided to commit. I thought it was the most beautiful campus I've seen. I visited a lot in high school, and that one by far was the prettiest one. And just the overall feel of the place. I really like California, and I didn't really want to leave, especially a place like that. And then also the opportunity that they're giving me is really great. They want me to come in and, throw a decent amount of innings for them. I didn't really want to transfer and go somewhere where, I would not really pitch that much because, I mean, it's not too fun not pitching. So the opportunity that they gave, and then the head coach is amazing. He's an amazing guy. He works with lefties really well. So me and him just got along instantly.
How special was that moment when you knew that's where you were committing?
It was actually really special. It's been a long 3 years of trying to figure out where I'm going and stuff like that. I mean, signing your national letter of intent in front of all your teammates and basically your family just because you're around them so much is an amazing feeling. And watching others do that, like Meddings, is awesome. Just seeing them being able to move on and having all their hard work pay off.
Looking back at those 3 years where you weren't really able to play, right? 2021 was canceled. Season was canceled. Yeah. San Joaquin Delta. So looking back at that to now where you guys are at now in the playoffs, you're going to Santa Clara University this fall. Just like, what stands out to you about your journey to this point?
Honestly, just everyone's development as a team and as a whole. I mean, we didn't really know what to expect from this year. I mean, our coach has very high expectations, so we try to uphold those expectations. But I think one of the biggest things was just everyone getting so close with each other. And I mean, there's not a day that we just don't hang out with each other. Even when we're not at the field, we still want to hang out with each other and, you know, get closer. I think that's the biggest aspect that pops out to me.
I really appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
That is Jace Root, going to pitch for the Rochester Honkers this upcoming summer, having a great season over at San Joaquin Delta, a 2.70 ERA. Thank you, Rochester Honkers fans, for tuning in. Remember, you can catch every episode of Meet the Honkers right here on the Rochester Honkers YouTube channel at noon Central, and I will see you for the next one.